We are now going to have a panel of in-house attorneys who are going to look at challenges in navigating their businesses through increasing risk while managing stakeholder expectations. Chairing this panel is Ashley Wong, a partner at King & Wood Mallesons. Panelists would be grateful if you could come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks Paul for organizing this. And I'm Ashley Wong, partner of King & Wood Mallesons Hong Kong, and I'm joined on my left, your right, Sally. Sally Zhang, legal counsel of Haitong UT International Leasing. Kathleen Oliver, head of transaction legal, Asia Pacific at Avalon. And last but not least, Bruce Ross, senior vice president legal at the Engine Lease Finance Corporation. This panel is called Chambers, which is an in-house attorney panel discussion on challenges in navigating aviation enterprises through increasing risk while managing increasing expectation from stakeholders. So let's start with our first question for our panelists. So the last 18 months or so have been challenging for the aviation industry. Can you describe some of the major challenges that you or your company have encountered and how you or your company have been able to overcome these?
Thank you, Ashley. I'm Sally from Haitong. Indeed, a really challenging year for all the lessors, and in respect of the challenges, and also really excited for all the legal and lawyers. In terms of the challenges, because as a transaction lawyers, we usually, before the pandemic, is all the transaction deals. But last year and even these years, we are dealing with many deferral cases, default cases, even in some restructuring or bankruptcy situations. That is really challenging because not only we look after the deals, and in the meantime, so we are studying new cases, new laws, new bankruptcy code in different jurisdictions. And even we need to consult, like you, the external counsels, about how the enforceability is in different jurisdiction in local levels. So this is really a challenging days for us as a transaction lawyers. But in terms of the exciting part, because we know that KTOM conventions and all the IDERA's DPOAs are designed for distress cases. And this time of years, we have the opportunities to put that theory into test. And this is quite exciting for not only the lawyers, but even I talk to my friends in my law schools. They're quite, like an opportunity to learn new things. And that is quite excited because like even you need to test how the residual value perform in these really extreme cases. And even though it's really extreme, but still the aircraft, like a really super good assets, it has the liquidity. And we need to report to the board as well because they understand the risk we are facing and how we deal with different scenarios. And the liquidity shows that we choose the right assets. That is the main point. And I continually to have the board support in this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah, I agree. I have learned a lot about the restructuring scheme in other places as well in the past 16 months, which is, I would call it very exciting as well. So Kathleen, is your experience different from Sally's as well?
Well, yes, but I think probably the biggest challenge that Avalon faced really early on was trying to consider how, as a company that really values face-to-face communication, both with each other around the office and with our customers, how we're going to transform that business into one that is essentially 100% digital overnight. And being face-to-face with a customer is not something that is always associated with lawyers, but particularly for us, we tend to look at our role as also, transaction manager / commercial negotiator. So we do think it's very important, even as lawyers, to be face-to-face with our customers and, seeing them in their own environments. And I think, what we figured out was that it's really easy to understand people, communicate with people, and understand kind of what their issues are when you're able to deal with them in person, whether that's with your colleagues in the office or sitting with your customer face-to-face doing a deal. But when you strip all of that away, the dynamics between people can become much more challenging. And so we really kind of had to think about how to harness, the internal technology that we had already built up in the business to continue to run our business the way that makes sense for us, and to continue to kind of work with each other and work with our customers and not lose what our CEO likes to call, the special sauce of Avalon, which is kind of the connectivity that we try to stress between people and with our customers and counterparties. So I think really focusing on that, especially at the outset, kind of built a very strong foundation for how we would deal with each other and how we would deal with our counterparties over the next, now it's been 18 months. And, everything else is not business as usual, but it is business. But for us, the main focus was how to deal with it, among the people.
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree that, the pandemic is a lot of bad things happening, but at least one of the things that it does remind us is how important it is to, and how precious it is to have face-to-face connection with other people. And also, it helps us to advance the technology as well, which is also another development which we have not expected, but, it's definitely a thing that we all treasure, and we all have to move on with the newer technology as to how we are going to do our business. So, Bruce, what is your views as well?
Yeah, so as an engine lessor, we experience the same kind of issues that we've spoken about in deferrals and sort of repayments and solvencies, etc. But I think one focus that we've tried to have as well over the last 18 months is not to lose sight of the fact there still is business to do out there as well. So whereas, there has been a focus on deferrals and trying to work with our customers, has also been, we have still closed on sale and leasebacks over the last 18 months. And, the pricing is, as everyone seems to know, the pricing is still very competitive as well, which is perhaps surprising because it's, the lease rate factors are still very competitive. So for us, it's been, a focus on the stuff that people don't really like dealing with, which is insolvencies. People don't like paying, I'm sorry to say, external lawyers in countries for advice. But unfortunately, it's become a necessity over the last 18 months in particular. And I think that kind of importance of having a good connection of local lawyers has really been emphasized the last year. It's great having an in-house team, a strong in-house team, but you're never going to cover every single jurisdiction with the knowledge that you need. So, whether it's been in India with the moratorium there and insolvencies, whether it's been, some of the issues that we saw in attempts to use restructuring laws out of the UK, which didn't quite go to plan for some airlines. So it has been a very interesting time and a challenging time, but I think the good news is that business is still getting done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really challenging, and I can see, all the new stuff that we have picking up as well, for in-house counsel as well as external counsel. So although that the situation in Hong Kong is getting better, given that there is no clear timeline for the recovery globally, so what challenges do you expect may arise over the next couple of years? And how do you plan to tackle these challenges while continuing to meet the expectations of the stakeholders?
I think, as you speak, is going to have more years to recover to the stage that is 2019 level. And I think from our company, Haitong, we have a really good board. They understand the risk, and because we give transparent report to the boards, then they will understand, okay, this is the market now, and we need time to recover. And in the meantime, we focus on the more safe market like mainland China and maybe Mexico market that is recovering really well. And in the meantime, we give time for the aviation market to recover, and we look for other opportunities as well. We are developing a new area that is transport leasing that not only looking to the aviation aircrafts, but we also look into other valuable assets that would be, have the opportunity like the aviation, like medicals, like shippings, to wait until the aviation market fully recover, then we have another, opportunity in this market. Yes.
That's good to know. So basically, the companies have to look for different opportunities and look at different sectors, and maybe it can help, the company to grow as well. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Thank you. So Kathleen.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we've really learned over the past 18 months is that the only thing that has really been constant is the fact that everything changes every day. We may think that we know what's going on, in country X or with airline Y one week, but then next week things have changed. Their situation has changed, or the laws have changed. And we've seen, various of our customers and counterparties, rebound fairly well. Mainland China and the US being prime examples of that. But on the other hand, simultaneously we're seeing our customers in Southeast Asia continue to really struggle and really need support and assistance. So from our perspective, the ability to be nimble and be flexible has really been, the key to success for us over the last 18 months. And, we've been very fortunate that a pretty strong liquidity position in our business has enabled us to, on the one hand, support the customers who really do need it with deferrals or restructurings, like Sally and Bruce have both mentioned. But on the other hand, we've also been able to engage in new business opportunities as they come up. So I guess just by way of example, at the end of the first quarter 2021, we, in addition to doing kind of the distressed assets and the workouts and restructurings, we also delivered 6 aircraft to new customers to Avalon, which I think if you had asked us this time last year, would that be possible to add customers to your portfolio, particularly 6 of them, I just don't think anyone could have forecasted that. So there is a balance between those who need support and new business opportunities, and chasing where the business has really been key for us.
I see. So you say the key is really flexibility and adaptability. Yeah. Bruce.
In terms of opportunities, COVID hasn't changed kind of the principle of the business in that if you get the right asset at the right price, then it's a good deal. So in terms of sort of moving forward, that's going to continue to be our focus in terms of new business. The concern, I suppose, that I think a lot of people have is that government support is still very strong at the moment, and there's been relatively few actual airline failures. So what happens when that support starts to wean off? And how there's going to be another move to try and help airline customers, which obviously we'd be supportive of, but there is that concern what might happen in the future. We have a strong Japanese parent company that supported us during it. They're encouraging us to do more business. So from our point of view, that the opportunity to do deals if they're there is definitely there for us. In terms of opportunities, one of the key words I think everyone's mentioned has been sustainability. And perhaps somewhat unkindly, one of my friends told me that the best thing lawyers could do would be to talk less, because then there's less hot air being generated, which is going to help in terms of sustainability. But I think there's going to be less tokenism around that perhaps, and it's up to aircraft and engine lessors to actually make a real commitment in terms of how we actually help with those kind of key concepts going forward.
I see. Thank you very much. So how do you see the role of in-house counsel developing in this challenging environment?
I'm not a really experienced one, you see from my age, but I think it developed really well because previously, in previous years, the senior management are not really look into the risk. They were chasing the market a lot, but nowadays they know the risk is a real thing. It's not a monster in a book. So they value the in-house roles more than ever. They need this one. They need these people to communicate within the groups, within the team. And then, in the other hand, is a kind of a bridge between the organization and the external counsels. They need to understand why there is a risk, and then why there is a certain provisions in the agreement that put in that place in the first place. And this is really, a meaningful job to do, and it is not been seen before. And then it's continue to be a good thing in the future.
As you said, the role of in-house counsel is actually, proving to be more important, in this kind of a challenging environment.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Kathleen?
Yeah, so I think a little bit to Sally's point, I was thinking about what I have been doing most of in the last year and a half. And I think the thing that I say almost every day to someone who comes to my desk is, what does the lease say? Because I think in the normal course of deal making, pre-pandemic times, you negotiate your deal, you sign the documents, and then you may never see those documents again until the aircraft is traded or it meets its natural lease expiry. But that just hasn't been the case now. We find ourselves having to go back into documents to look at various scenarios, new things that have happened in jurisdiction or with that particular customer. So there's been a real learning in the business that, the positions that we take, what they are, or why they're important, and what we want to do going forward when this is all over. What are our best practices? And that's really where we, as an internal legal team, are taking a lead role, because obviously we need external counsel to give us what the law is in all of these jurisdictions, but we are really the bridge that takes what is the law and then trying to map it onto what is the deal that we're trying to do and how do those two things mesh together. So we're taking a really, I think, much more front-facing role earlier in transactions than we would normally. And I think that's really going to continue, because we are, learning as time goes on that what we put in documents really does matter when it comes down to it. And you do need to be prepared. And, just having that knowledge builds the right foundation for the relationship that you're trying to build.
Yeah. Thank you. Bruce?
Yeah, continuing what Kathleen's saying, I don't think, the easy part, I guess, if you're in-house, is pointing to the legal side and saying we're entitled to take our engine, our aircraft back in this situation because there's an insolvency, there's a default. I think the value comes in saying, okay, let's look at the business, because if it was a single airline that we're looking at that was having financial difficulties, it was like sort of a Spanair, the key was for everyone to get their aircraft and engines out so you don't get caught in a bankruptcy process. If you get your engines, your aircraft back just now, where are you going to put them? Because there's a lot of assets around. So I think the value of a good in-house counsel at the moment, in my opinion, is someone who does the legal part but also sees the business part as well and kind of blends it all together.
Yeah, it's quite a lot to expect from in-house counsel. Yeah, so due to the time available is quite limited, so I just want to ask, what is your final thoughts that you would like to share with us?
I think it's still be positive, and even though the COVID-19 is still spreading, but it is slowing down, and for Hong Kong it's 0 cases now, and we have all passed the worst days, and then looking forward is only good, not bad. So I think as all the audience here are all the aviationers, and we have love in this market. We have association in this market. So stay this one. It all become good in the future.
Yeah, stay positive. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add to that. As I think Sally put it pretty nicely, but I guess the only other thing I would say is, we're really looking forward to the day when both we and our customers are all back in the air and back flying around. And, we are, looking at things like vaccinations and all of the other, bits and pieces of government support that were really needed to make that happen. And, we do think that things are on the right track and we'll get there.
Thank you. Bruce?
Yeah, and I echo that. It's unusual to have 4 lawyers saying be positive, but that's what I'd say as well. Try and be positive.
That's good. Thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that.